Hello, this is Felicia Moore, your host for another episode of Realty Resources and Reality. Today we're going to talk about protecting and preserving your property, a must do task list for 2025. Let's get started. Well, it's still January, so I can still say Happy New Year. I hope you caught our first episode of Realty Resources and Reality. And now we're into almost the middle of the month. And of course, there's still those things that we need to do. And so this segment is called Protect and Preserve Must Do Property Task, TASKS, for 2025. Just some other things that I think that we should have on our radar screen. And you know me, I'm always going to go back to that main thing that really sticks in my craw, and that is the property deed theft. In our last episode, I told you there was an update that this year they will be requiring by state law when someone comes in and files paperwork on property to be able to show an ID. Now, if you think that's going to stop it, you're fooling yourself. It does help, but it doesn't stop it. So I still want to make sure that you do the first best thing. If you didn't do it last year, you keep putting it off, I'm going to put it right back up there on the screen. Now, you may be watching outside of the state of Georgia, so let me start with you. Go to Google and put in property deed theft registration, help, alerts, however you want to Google it. I'm quite sure your state has some mechanism, either your state or the county that you live in has some mechanism to help you. So you might want to search by state and county both if you're outside of the state of Georgia, because that will help you find out how they're dealing with this. Because it's not just a city of Atlanta or a state of Georgia or a Fulton County problem. This is happening across the country. You know, when you have something of value, there are people out there that are going to find a way to get it. And I'm telling you, just showing an ID is not going to stop someone when they can have a fake ID. So down at the bottom of the screen, first of all, if you live in the state of Georgia, you can register. And I will tell you, take your time when you do it, because you can register it in different ways. You can register by address. You can register by your name. All of the ways that you're able to do it, you can do that. If they're asking you for your deed book and page or other information or your property ID, you can find that online as well. But get all of the alerts that you can get. And the reason why it's important is because if you can't stop somebody from doing it and they do it, you rather find out about it immediately as soon as you can when they do it versus 5 or 6 years from now or months from now when you're trying to do something with your property and then you have title issues because they're telling you you don't own your property anymore. Or you get a letter in the mail and somebody's telling you you got to get out of your property. They're evicting you. Oh, there's a whole lot of things that happen. Not going to go through all of that, but you want to stop anybody from doing anything fraudulent. You even want to stop vendors, people who may have done work on your house or people who may have done nothing on your house. You don't want them filing a lien on your property for you only to find out later. So first on there is where you can go for the state. So anything within the state, any property in the state. Now, my property's in Fulton County. So when I Googled Fulton County's alert, they gave me this. And that's the second website where you can go in Fulton County directly and register. Why not do it in both places? I'd rather have it, two places that may alert me versus no place that alert me, or just one that may take longer because, the county has to report to the state and then the state will report to you. I feel like if I get it on the front end and on the next end, I will have it. If you're not in Fulton County, all you have to do is Google your county. Most county clerk's offices have their own independent notification system. So this is the number one thing on your list. If you haven't done this already, what are you waiting for? Somebody to take your property? If you have seniors, your grandmother, your auntie, your friend, your neighbors, they sometimes are not as savvy as others on computers and internet. Do it for them. And particularly if they have owned their property straight out, you definitely want to do that because these scammers, yeah, they will take your property even if you have a mortgage on it. But they love those ones where there aren't one because they know they won't maybe have to fight with the bank. Or they love those vacant properties. Perhaps you have air property. It's a lot. It doesn't have to be a house. It could be a lot or just land and nobody's on it and they don't see any activity. That's a great place to go because they know, okay, this is probably air property. Somebody owns it. They don't even cut the grass. They don't come near here. They're not paying attention to this property. And before you know it, it's gone. There's many stories where houses have been torn down. Oh, the list goes on and on. People are doing some crazy things. The other thing that they're doing now that state legislature is going to have to deal with is trying to evict people because they don't have to show who they are or that they have any interest in the property to go down to the clerk's office and file an eviction on you. We have people who live in their houses. I've seen the stories that are receiving eviction notices. So hopefully they'll plug up that hole. But even with that, people will do everything they can to separate you from a valuable thing, which is your property. And we will do everything we can here at Exit Realty West Midtown to help you, to educate you, and we definitely want you to make sure you do the property registration. I'm going to leave this up for a minute because I want to talk about the second thing that you should be alert on. And even when I was pulling this information, I said to myself, this isn't the year for me, but next year is for me. And I know a friend of mine who this year is it. And that is your homestead exemptions. Now, April 1st is typically the deadline for most counties across the state. But I always implore you, I'm going to be giving you information related to Fulton County. It's pretty similar to other counties. But if you live in another county, Google your county just to make sure there's not some differences. I'm going to talk about, some exemptions that you can get in Fulton County. Well, there may be even some other ones in other counties. I know like some counties, if you become a certain age, you don't have to pay school board taxes. Well, that's not here in in Fulton County, except for there's some exemption for seniors in other parts of Fulton County, not the city of Atlanta, but the Fulton County school system. So every county is going to be different. So one of the things on your to-do list, even with Fulton County, I'm going to give you some, is to go to Google. Google's a good thing. Type in, tell me what homestead exemptions are available in Fulton County, and they'll give you that list. Or you can go directly to their website, and that will be there in the under the assessor's office. So let's talk about a few of those. First of all, April 1st is that deadline that most people use. Also, I want you to be aware to keep your eyes open. Around May or June of the year, you will be getting your property tax assessment. And that means where the assessors are telling you what the value of your property is. Because the value of your property minus whatever exemptions you have and then times the millage rate, whether it's for a school, for your city, whatever tax rate is for that. So to keep your property tax as low as you possibly can, you're going to want to make sure, first of all, when you get that assessment, that you look and see how much your property value is increasing, making sure that's uniform with what you see with others. You can always file an appeal. Usually in the upper right-hand corner of that will be the deadline for you to appeal. Please pay attention to that because that's the beginning. After you receive that, um, you can file for an appeal and then go through that process. And maybe we'll talk about that at some point. But April 1st is the deadline to file for exemptions. And so everyone, if you are new, just bought the house or something in Fulton County or another county, you would want to immediately file for a homestead exemption if you're living there. That is a good exemption to have, and it keeps your property tax low. Depending on the jurisdiction, there may be some caps that go along with that, but you definitely want to make sure you do that. And most realtors, like myself, good ones, are going to make sure you're reminded to do that before April 1st, depending on when you purchase your property. Senior exemptions, those must be applied for too, but you got to first apply for the homestead exemption. So make sure you have that homestead exemption. So when you are eligible for the senior exemption, you're already in that place. So let me give you some quick ideas of those senior exemptions. There's a basic senior exemption, and that's for people that are 65 years old or older. There's no income limit, and you can get $4,000 off the assessed value. So that's $4,000 that won't be times a millage rate, which can reduce your property tax bill. And this is $4,000 off the assessed value of property for school tax purposes. And you must, of course, be a legal resident and actually live in that property. So that's one that a lot of people miss because you get older and you forget about any particular new exemptions you may have. And I want to remember when I get 65 to apply for these as well. There's a senior school exemption. This is for Fulton County schools. So, you have the City of Atlanta Board of Education school system, but we also have the Fulton County school system, which primarily took place for all of the schools that were outside of that were in the unincorporated areas, which are now incorporated areas, but they're still under that school system. So you will get a $10,000. You will get at 65. You have to have an income requirement. If you have a gross household income of $10,000 or less, you can apply for this. And this is for Fulton County school taxes. A senior full value exemption, and that's if you're 65 or older, and you have a gross household income of $30,000 or less, and a full exemption, meaning you pay nothing for Fulton County school taxes, not Atlanta, but Fulton County school taxes. So that's a good one. There is a senior full value exemption where you must be 70 or older and have a gross income of $30,000 or less. And this one is a full exemption from all Fulton County, not Atlanta, but Fulton County school taxes. There's a floating homestead exemption, and that's for people who are 65 or older. This one has no income limit, so everybody who's 65 or older who has a homestead exemption can apply for this one. And this exempts school taxes or increases in property value, and you must be a legal resident of the property. Now, I'm going to give you this really quick. Of course, there's always different nuances to this. Look in your county, because you may even have some other exemptions that I didn't talk about, but you must apply before the first of the year, and You're going to have, of course, to prove your income if there's an income requirement, your residency, already have um, applied for your homestead exemption. And you can always look up this information at your Fulton County Board of Assessors or your county Board of Assessors. And so, my final tip that you need to protect and preserve your property is take time to do what I call a walkthrough. That's your property on the inside, seeing if there are any new cracks or things that may look unsettling on the inside. But most importantly, because people don't do it all the time, is take a look around the outside of your house. Check your gutters. Make sure they're in line. The gutter guards are up if they're falling off. You have screens on your windows. They're new. No rodents or creatures digging or burrowing under your yard. That there isn't a lot of shifting. You want to get down in that crawl space. You really want to take time to make sure that you don't have trees that are hanging with limbs that may fall on your property or your neighbor's property. Understand that if your neighbor's tree or tree limbs fall and damage your property, it's your homeowner's insurance that has to pay. And there has been a lot of news stories that have come out about how homeowners insurance are canceling people because of dangerous trees in their yard or dangerous trees in their neighbor's yard, or even for damages. Some of them, I've received some notices that said, hey, you need to fix that rotting board. And if you don't do it, we're going to cancel your insurance. So you want to do those walkarounds, make note on it. So then in the spring, you can get out there and make those repairs. We got to maintain our property to preserve it. We've got to protect our properties from scammers. We've got to take all of the advantages that we can to keep our property tax low so we can afford it. And most of all, we want to make sure we do all that we can to enjoy it. So this is it for this episode. We will be back again and talk about realty, resources, and reality. Our contact information will be up after this short break. Contact me at AskFelicia at exitwestmidtown.com. I'd love to come talk with you, a small group, or just call me and ask me questions. We're here for you. Have a good one.